Deb Luster, and this is episode 12 of the Luster Leadership Series. This series explores the AEC industry trends, highlighting the voices of the industry. Today, I have the honor of interviewing Natalie Pumphrey. Hi, Natalie.
Hi, how are you?
Natalie's currently working, I'm great. Natalie's currently working at Luster National and has had a very dynamic career in the AEC industry. Her background is she has an MS in structural engineering from Texas A&M, during which her dream was to design the crazy high rises of the world's greatest architects, which she did for 4 years right out of college in Chicago, which Chicago is the best landscape ever. Natalie later worked in Houston with an oil and gas job, designing offshore platforms, crazy, and then she gradually shifted into project engineering and quality management. At the pandemic onset, she became a contract quality consultant and was eventually hired by Luster National for local State Highway 99 Grand Parkway project in Houston, which is a $1.2 billion project. Her specialties include ISO certifications, quality management, and process improvement. Hobbies for her vary, and they include reading and crafts, kayaking, and hiking, which I love all of those, but she spends time also axe throwing, which I think is really cool, and sometime I want to try it. She's married with 2 dogs and 4 stepkids, and she lives in Houston, Texas, where we're all going to visit her sometime soon.
Yes.
So I'm going to say hi, thank you for being here and sharing your time and your wisdom with us today. And we're going to just have fun talking, and I really am grateful to you for being here. And I wanted to just ask you, there's fewer women in leadership roles in the AEC community. We know this for sure. I think there's only 2% of upper management, like the C-suite management, is actually women. So to have you in this industry is a really cool, and it's wonderful for women looking at this industry. What do you think needs to be done to promote more women into leadership roles in this industry?
So I think, out of the gate, STEM in general, science, technology, engineering, typically has less women, less females in it. I mean, and that starts from, when we're kids and girls get Barbies and boys get Legos. So leadership in those industries have less of a pool of women and females to pull from anyway. But the women who do make it in STEM, we tend to be stronger, I think, than typical females in industries, because we're used to working alongside men, but we have to kind of take the extra effort of being our own advocates. So you can only control yourself. You can't control, what everybody else is doing. So it's up to you to, if you see elements of leadership that interest you, you have to go after them. You have to be that advocate for yourself. You have to go after the opportunities, the projects, the activities that you want to do. And you have to ask for them. They're not just going to sit in your lap. And I think men are more apt to speak up and say, I want this, and go after it. And women are going to wait until it's offered to them. And it doesn't work like that. You have to go after the things you like. And I've always been, well, I'm just going to do it.
Yeah.
And then I'll ask, or then I'll show them. I'm not going to wait for you to ask me to do it. If I see something that needs to get done, I'm just going to do it. And then, force my way in. I'm not going to, wait for them to ask me, and I'm just going to force my way in. But on the flip side of that is, when you become a female in leadership, you have to be an advocate for other women. You have to pull them up, be a mentor. There's enough room for all of us up here. Just because bringing someone in is not going to take away your shine or your potential money or your potential promotion. There's enough room for everyone to go around. So it's kind of your responsibility to help, the women who are coming behind you know that there's room in leadership for them, and they'll have a spot if they are interested.
I really love that. I think that, being an advocate for women in the industry, but also being a mentor for young women that want to come through it. Because like, I think what you've said is you work harder, you work much harder, you feel, just to kind of get in the door, and then you just keep pounding until, and my experience of you is that you work so hard and you get the job done, which is, that would probably be one of the first things you would tell a young woman who's looking at this, is you just really need to work hard. But that's in every industry where women are trying to pound down the doors, is I think we work extra hard. But looking towards you as a mentor, and an ambassador for women in leadership, but also as a mentor. And that's exactly what women that are coming up would need, a mentor like you. So of course, after this series comes out, you're going to get all kinds of people calling you up.
And that's fine.
So what other advice would you give a young woman looking at this career path?
Well, you and I were talking about this before you pressed record, and we all go into professional life with these ideas of what we want to do, and we may start down a path. But just because you're educated in something, you get a degree in something, doesn't mean that's where you're going to end up 20 years down the road. And so be open to trying different things out. If an opportunity arises that doesn't fit exactly in to the game plan you had in your head, give it a shot. Who knows? You could find that it actually fits you better than the goal you set for yourself when you were 17 years old, So be open to new opportunities, try them out. Don't get stuck in one way, one path. And you could be surprised. You'll end up 30 years down the road working in mac and cheese when you thought you were going to be building high rises. So, it's great to have a game plan always, but just, go with the flow sometimes too.
Yeah. And the other thing you said earlier about the mentorship and just kind of working hard. And I love that going with the flow part of it, because we all kind of show up with a yes in life, right? You kind of show up and say yes to whatever's kind of in front of you, as long as you have barriers and you have a filter, and you see kind of where it takes you. So in your career, you've gone from the wanting to build high rises in Chicago. Oh my gosh, so beautiful. And I went on the architectural boat. There's a boat that takes you around Chicago that shows you all the architectural structures that are just phenomenal. So I can imagine why you'd be super intrigued with that. To oil rigs, which I didn't even know there was a lot of design.
Yes, there's a lot.
I mean, of course there is, but it seems very different than the high rises. And you just kind of say yes and see where you end up. And I really like that as advice. It's really, really good advice for everybody. Just not be set in your ways, but kind of be open to what is going to be in front of you and see what happens. So.
And on that mentorship note, you don't necessarily need a mentor that's in your industry. You just need to find someone who is doing things that you'd like to do yourself. It doesn't have to be in the same industry or in the same way, but if you see someone who's a go-getter in the same way you want to be, that's what a good mentor is. You don't have to stick to the small little niche of your own industry or job.
I so agree. I think there's a kitchen table moment. I just said, put people around you. And if they're not even in your industry at all, put people around you that you want to emulate, and have, I always think of it as a kitchen table, the people that you really would like to have advice on all areas of your life. And because people that are in leadership they're in leadership for a reason, or they resonate with you in a way that gives you energy, but they also can give you wonderful advice, even if they're way out of a different industry. And also the truth of it is, you don't always need a female mentor, although I love all my mentors that are female, but it's fun to mix it up, because in the world, there's this great opportunity for a female male partnership model where you just learn from both sides. And you learn, some of my greatest mentors were men, and many, many women for sure. So that's a really great advice, is to don't worry about where they are, what industry specifically they're in, but look at what you like that you like something you like about them, and how they present themselves, and want to learn from them.
Yep,
The
exactly.
curiosity piece, yeah. So now we're going to kind of go into like here's some of the things you're doing. So you have a lot of different specialties. You do a lot of project management. You're really, really good at getting jobs done, and being like structured thinking, and then broadly going out and making any project better because you're in it. And I mean, I know that from just hearing from our team, just how amazing you are. So what do you think is needed to get more AEC leadership to recognize, this is your specialty, one of the many, the benefits of applying ISO 2015 quality standards, sorry, which is a huge deal. First of all, explain to whoever is why they should, and what's the benefits.
So when companies hear ISO 9001, they hear quality. In their brains, I think most people think about it a little narrower than it needs to be. They think about quality assurance, quality control, making sure contractors are, doing what they need to do out in the field, that materials, like steel and concrete that show up for construction projects, meet the right standards. And while all that falls under quality, I think the part that gets missed is ISO 9001 is just a way of thinking about things, planning and strategizing. And it can be used on a much higher level on how to plan and think about anything related to your company, your project, your program, anything that is executed. A quality approach to looking at it can always be applied. And it takes time at the beginning of anything. If you want to plan it out and be strategic about it, to get the most effect, you have to take that time at the beginning to stop and think. When you're planning a trip, you could just jump on a plane and show up and play it by ear. And yes, that could be fun. But if you spent, I don't know, 4 to 8 hours over the preceding 6 months to really plan it out, you could get the most bang for your buck out of that trip. Going grocery shopping, you could just show up and just start grabbing stuff off the shelf and hope eventually you could make a meal out of it when you get home. But you'll end up with unused ingredients, maybe unhealthy ingredients. But again, if you would have Monday morning took 15, 20 minutes to plan out your meals for the week and wrote an ingredient list, you're going to get through the grocery shopping quicker. You'll have healthier meals. They'll be quicker down the road. So it's like you're planning and you've got a strategy for success down the road. So quality using ISO 9001 is just putting a process together where you think about how you're going to do something, then doing it, and then checking to make sure that, okay, I wanted to do it this way. I did it this way. Did it actually work? And if it didn't, then you can kind of fix things and try again. So any company that wants to be better or improve can benefit from thinking strategically and using ISO 9001.
And then there are certain projects that they really look very favorably on having that that certification, correct? I mean, it's a real big benefit that way, or?
Yes, because it shows either the client or a government or whoever is the owner of a project that you have a systematic way of doing things. You're following a plan, and you'll make corrections if things aren't working. So it's just showing someone that you put thought into how you plan to do your work.
That's great. That's fantastic. Well, and it's not with guidance, I've heard it's a challenge to get started, but with guidance, you could actually help guide that process. I mean, you really did a great job for for Luster for that. And but it's also it's cumbersome, but it's probably saves time and money ultimately, because like you said, you don't have any ingredients you don't use.
Yeah, I mean, setting any kind of program up is going to take time on the front end to build it and do it.
Mm.
But once it's established, the idea is that it's going to make things more efficient down the road and just better down the road. So you can't think of it in terms of this is going to take too much time to plan and set up. You know, that's part of business, is putting money towards something, knowing it'll, reap you dividends down the road.
And it,
So
it shows that the company itself is deliberate and has high standards and is really focused as well. So, well, you've been
yes.
amazing. You're really good at focusing the company and project management, period. So do you have anything else that you would like to tell this universe of people that are watching about any advice you would like to give, or any ideas that you have that you would like for people to know?
Um, I can't think of anything. I think I just kind of go through life. It's just speak up. You know, people aren't going to know what you're thinking. They're not going to know your good ideas unless you say something. So uh, be open to asking stupid questions, to making suggestions that people don't like, because that's how you get your own ideas heard and think through things. So we're all people at the end of the day. And I know a lot of times people are scared about speaking up when, there's leadership in the room, there's vice presidents, presidents, CEOs, et cetera. But at the end of the day, they're all just people. They're all going home to their family. They're all just trying to do good in their job. So just remember that and just be open to speaking up. I think most people are nice in the end. So there's not a lot to worry about.
I love that. Well, thank you so much for being here today and for sharing your wisdom with us today. I'm inspired by the way you are in this world, and you're elevating women and actually people in the industry, and you're a superb manager and a superb person, and that you have this natural curiosity, the grit that I think that a lot of young people and all people, you get in it and you ask the questions and you have the curiosity and you just get the job done. So thank you so much for being here today
Thank
and
you for
for
having me.
agreeing to speak with us. And we look forward to watching your career evolve. Who knows? Thank you so much.
Yes. Thank you.